My girlfriend shouted in front of everyone, "You would never be a good husband. I'm not going to marry you." I didn't respond. I looked at her briefly and walked away. Later that night, I received a message from her friend asking, "Do you even know what happened after you left?" I'm 29, and until 3 weeks ago, I believed my life was on track. I had been with Sarah for nearly 4 years. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party, connected right away, and within 6 months, we were living together. She worked as a paralegal at a mid-sized firm downtown. I work in logistics management. We weren't wealthy, but we lived comfortably. We discussed marriage. Last Christmas, we even looked at engagement rings together. She pointed out an elegant sapphire ring at a mall jeweler, and 2 days later, I quietly went back to ask about financing. The night everything fell apart was meant to be a celebration. My cousin Marcus was hosting an engagement party at his home. It was a nice suburban house with a professionally landscaped yard, and about 40 guests attended. Sarah had been acting distant and irritable all week, but I assumed it was work pressure. She mentioned her boss was pushing her hard on deadlines, and she had stayed late at the office 3 or 4 nights that week. I even offered to bring her dinner one night, but she declined, saying she would grab food from the deli downstairs. We arrived around 7 p.m., and the party was already lively. Music played from outdoor speakers, and people gathered in small groups around the patio and living room. I was talking with Marcus and a few friends near the kitchen island when Sarah approached holding a drink. Her face was flushed, and it was clear she had already had at least 2 or 3 glasses of wine. "Can we talk?" she said, but her voice was not quiet or private. It was loud enough that Marcus stopped talking and looked at her. "Sure, what's going on?" I replied calmly, trying to keep things normal. "I'm serious. We need to talk about us." I glanced around and noticed people beginning to watch. Jennifer, Marcus's fiancée, was observing from across the room with concern. "Okay, let's step outside," I suggested. "No," she interrupted, raising her voice. "I'm done pretending. You know what? I don't think this is gonna work." My stomach dropped, and the music suddenly felt overwhelming. "Sarah, this isn't the right place," I said. "You would never be a good husband. I'm not marrying you." The room went silent. Everyone was staring. My face felt hot, my hands tightened, but I kept my expression as neutral as possible. I studied her for a moment, trying to decide whether this was alcohol or intention. Her expression was cold, almost challenging, as if she wanted a reaction. I didn't recognize her anymore. I said nothing. I turned, picked up my jacket from a chair near the door, and walked out. As I left, I heard someone ask, "What just happened?" followed by quiet, uneasy chatter. I drove home without any sound, no music, no calls, just my breathing and the engine. My hands shook on the steering wheel. When I reached our apartment, I sat in the dark on the couch for about an hour, staring at the wall as streetlight shadows moved across it. I replayed the scene repeatedly, trying to understand what I had missed or done wrong. Then my phone vibrated. It was a message from Rachel, one of Sarah's close college friends. "Do you even know what happened after you left?" I stared at the text before replying. "What?" The typing dots appeared immediately, followed by, "Can I call you?" "Yeah," I replied. My phone rang seconds later. "Hey," she said, sounding strained, like she had been crying. "I don't know how to say this, but you need to know." She explained that after I left, Sarah broke down, crying and saying she didn't mean what she said and that she was just scared. But Rachel said that wasn't the worst part. "What's worse?" I asked, my voice hollow. Rachel hesitated. I could hear party noise in the background, voices and clinking glasses. "Marcus's brother Jake was there. You know him, right?" I did. Jake was Marcus's younger brother, about 26, worked in finance, always well-dressed and overly confident. "Yeah, I know him." "Sarah has been seeing him for at least 2 months." It felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. "What?" I said. "I didn't know until tonight," Rachel said quickly. "After you left, Jake went to comfort her. He put his arm around her and she leaned into him naturally, not like friends, but like they were together. I heard him say, 'You said you were going to end it clean. This wasn't the plan.' That's when I realized what was going on. I confronted her in the bathroom about 20 minutes ago, and she admitted everything. I couldn't speak. The words felt unreal, like a poorly written movie scene. She said it started at a work event in September where Jake was present. They talked, and then it happened. That's how she described it. But 2 months isn't an accident. That's a repeated decision. "Is she still there?" I asked. my voice breaking slightly. Yes, she's still at the party, acting like the victim. A few people are comforting her, but most are uncomfortable. Jennifer is furious and wants her gone. Thanks for telling me, I said, my voice breaking slightly. What are you going to do? Rachel asked. I don't know yet. We ended the call. I sat in the dark for another hour. Then something shifted, and for the first time that night, my thoughts started to clear.
I opened my laptop and logged into our shared bank account, the one we set up about 2 years ago for rent and utilities. We each deposited a fixed amount every month to keep things simple. I started reviewing the transactions from the past few months. At first, everything looked routine. Rent, electricity, internet, groceries. Then I saw charges I didn't recognize. There was a restaurant called Provisions, an upscale place downtown I'd never visited, with a $180 charge from 2 months ago. Another visit 3 weeks later for $210. Then I noticed a hotel charge from 4 weeks ago, $340 at a boutique hotel about 15 minutes from our apartment. That weekend, Sarah had told me she was attending a work conference in Chicago. I took screenshots of every questionable transaction. There were 11 in total. Update 1. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I stayed on the couch with my laptop open, staring at those bank statements and replaying every lie she'd told me, every late night at work, every weekend she said she was too tired to go out, every argument she started over something small. I realized now it was likely guilt. Around 6 a.m., I heard the apartment door open. Sarah came in quietly, as if trying not to wake me. She was still wearing the same dress from the party and looked drained. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open and a cup of coffee that had gone cold long before. She stopped when she saw me. "We need to talk," I said. She dropped her purse on the counter and crossed her arms. Her makeup was smudged beneath her eyes, and her hair was unkempt. "I know I messed up last night. I was drunk. I didn't mean... How long have you been sleeping with Jake?" Her face went pale. The color drained instantly. "What?" "Don't lie to me. Rachel told me, and I checked the bank statements." I turned the laptop toward her, showing the highlighted charges. She stared at the screen for several seconds, her mouth opening and closing, as if she couldn't find the right words. Then her shoulders dropped. "It just happened. It wasn't planned." 2 months doesn't just happen. 2 months is a relationship. It's a decision you made every day. "I was confused," she said, her voice breaking. "We've been together so long, I started questioning if this was really what I wanted. Everything felt routine. Jake made me feel excited again, like things weren't so predictable." "So you humiliated me in front of 40 people because you were bored?" I felt anger rise, sharp and intense. "That's not fair," she said. "No," I replied. "What's not fair is that I spent 4 years building a life with someone who was looking for replacements behind my back. What's not fair is that I was checking financing options for an engagement ring while you were using our shared money for hotel rooms with my cousin's brother." She started crying then, but it felt calculated. The tears didn't move me. "I'm sorry. I really am. I made a mistake. Can we talk about this? Can we try to fix it?" "There's nothing to fix. I want you out of the apartment by the end of the week." "This is my place too." "The lease is in my name," I said calmly. "You moved in after I had already been here a year. You can check the paperwork." She stared at me in disbelief. "You're really going to throw me out?" "You ended us when you chose Jake. I'm just making it official." She left the kitchen without saying anything else. I heard the bedroom door slam, followed by muffled crying through the wall. I didn't feel guilty. Update 2. Sarah moved out 4 days later. She tried to take furniture I'd bought before we even met, the coffee table, a bookshelf, even the good blender, but I had the receipts saved on my computer, and she backed off. The process was distant and transactional. We barely spoke except to sort details. "I'm taking the dishes. They were a gift from my mom." "Fine." Her parents arrived with a U-Haul on Saturday morning. Her father avoided eye contact, and her mother gave me a look of quiet judgment, as if I was the one at fault. I didn't explain anything.
He sent me a long text message 2 days after Sarah moved out. He apologized, saying he never intended for things to escalate and that he respected me too much to let this damage my relationship with Marcus. The message was 5 paragraphs long, filled with lines like, "I take full responsibility," and "I hope we can move past this one day." I didn't reply. I deleted the message and blocked his number. 2 days later, Marcus called me. "I heard what happened," he said. "Jake told me his version, but I wanted to hear yours." I told him everything: the public humiliation, the affair, the bank statements, the hotel charges, and the lies. Marcus listened without interrupting. After I finished, he was silent for a moment. Then he said, "I'm sorry, man. I had no idea. Jake is my brother, but what he did was completely wrong. I'm not defending him." I thanked him. "For what it's worth," Marcus continued, "Jennifer already removed Sarah from the wedding. She was supposed to be a bridesmaid. I'm also keeping Jake on a very short leash. He's no longer in the wedding party. Jennifer wanted him uninvited entirely, but he's still my brother, so he can attend the ceremony only, no reception." That gave me a small sense of closure, but it didn't repair the betrayal. Nothing really could. Update 3. About 2 weeks after Sarah moved out, she sent me a message on Instagram. It was long and scattered, saying she'd made the biggest mistake of her life and wanted to meet to talk. She claimed Jake turned out to be different than she expected, and that she realized I was the person she truly wanted. She said she'd been impulsive and foolish, and that what we had was real. I didn't even finish reading it. I blocked her on Instagram, Facebook, and her email as well. But here's where things took another turn. A mutual friend, Tyler, contacted me a few days later and explained why Sarah was trying to come back. Apparently, Jake had been seeing someone else the entire time, another woman from his office named Amanda. When Sarah discovered this, she saw messages on his phone and confronted him. He told her she was just a fling, that it was never serious, and that Amanda was his actual girlfriend. Sarah was devastated. Tyler said she showed up at his apartment around 10 p.m., crying and asking for advice. Then things got worse. That same week, she was fired from her job. She'd been arriving late repeatedly, missing deadlines, and got into a shouting argument with her boss over a filing error. Her boss had been patient for weeks, but that argument ended it. Tyler also said Sarah had been contacting mutual friends, asking them to convince me to take her back. No one agreed. A few people told her directly that what she did couldn't be forgiven. Final update. It's been 3 weeks since that night at Marcus's party. I'm still processing everything, but honestly, I feel lighter. The apartment is quieter, but it feels like mine again. I rearranged the furniture, removed anything that reminded me of her, threw away photos, donated some books she left behind, and even replaced the bed sheets. I started going to the gym before work and reading more. Small changes, but they help me feel like I'm taking my life back. Marcus and I are still close. His wedding is in 2 months, and I'm still invited. I'm even back in the wedding party as a groomsman. Jake won't be at the reception. Marcus held his ground on that. Apparently, Jake and Sarah tried to make things work for about a week after she found out about Amanda, but it fell apart quickly. Jake blocked her number, and she showed up at his apartment once. He threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. The last I heard, Sarah moved back in with her parents about an hour outside the city. She's unemployed and spending most of her time in her childhood bedroom. Rachel told me Sarah has been posting vague, sad quotes on social media, clearly about me, but never naming me directly. I haven't heard from her since blocking her everywhere. Rachel checks in on me sometimes, which I appreciate. She feels guilty for not noticing the affair earlier, but I told her it wasn't her fault. Sarah was careful and hid it well. If Rachel had known, she would have told me. I'm not dating anyone right now. I'm not ready, but I'm also not angry. Mostly, I feel relieved. Relieved I found out before marrying her. Relieved I didn't lose another 4 years. Relieved I didn't propose with that sapphire ring and uncover all of this after getting married. Relieved I walked away when I did, with my dignity intact. Sometimes I think back to that moment at the party when she yelled at me in front of everyone. At the time, it felt like the worst moment of my life. Now I see it differently. It was a warning. She showed me who she really was, and I was able to leave before I was legally or financially tied to her forever. Edit 1. Some people asked if I ever confronted Jake directly. I didn't. He isn't worth my energy, and anything I said would have been about my own pride. He has to live with being the kind of person who does that to others. That's consequence enough. Edit 2. Someone asked if I ever received a real apology from Sarah beyond that Instagram message. No, that message wasn't an apology. It was an attempt to return after her backup plan failed. Edit 3. For those asking about the ring, I never bought it. I was planning to propose this Christmas. I'm glad I didn't.